Hello everyone, this is the Sluglady, and I just came from watching the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, and it was awesome, and I'm slowly running out of adrenaline. I've been hopped up on adrenaline and, uh, and sugar, but this is my third take, so it's starting to die down a bit. I'm starting to think a little bit more clearly. So let's get into this before I completely conk out. So first up, this is going to be spoilers. There's going to be nothing but spoilers in this. So if you're watching this and you haven't watched the Five Nights at Freddy 2 movie, what are you doing? Why are you watching this? Why haven't you seen the movie? The movie is awesome. Okay, go watch it, then come back to this. Okay? We good? We good. Okay. So, basic synopsis of this movie is that the toy animatronics basically get released onto the town, and it's up to our three heroes, being Vanessa, Mike Schmidt, and Abby Schmidt, to save the day, basically. And there's a reason why I'm using Mike's last name here. I will get to that. There's definitely some things in this movie that is going to piss off some people. This movie does a great job of pulling you in. It's a lot scarier than the first one. There's a lot more... It's a lot more graphic than the first one. Specifically involving the puppet. So the main... Well, one of the main villains is actually Charlotte. And we are told right away, Charlotte is the puppet. There's no, halfway, oh, maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Charlotte is the puppet. First scene of the movie we see is her at the pizzeria. She sees a kid that's being targeted by Afton, goes after the kid, saves the kid, but ends up dying instead. And dying with a lot of anger. And ends up possessing the puppet. And if you don't believe me, if there was any doubt in anyone's mind that Charlotte is the puppet, they make sure to not only put stripes on her, make the puppet her favorite animatronic, and when she dies, she falls down the trap door that the puppet goes up from, and when the puppet raises up, they are holding Charlotte's dead body in their arms. So if there was any doubt, Charlotte is the puppet. Now, Charlotte is also extremely angry. So when the animatronics get released, because they are currently stuck at the location with Abby being manipulated by them, they manage to get their perimeter lock turned off so they can now leave the pizzeria, and Charlotte wants them to kill every adult there is. Vanessa, who is actually friends with Charlotte, she's the blonde character that is the blonde kid that is talking to Charlotte in the flashback. They are best friends. Vanessa says that Charlotte was never mad at Afton. She was mad at the adults, because when she saw the kid being taken by Afton, Charlotte tried to get help from any of the adults around, and all of them ignored her. So when she died in anger, it was anger towards all of the adults that didn't pay attention, that didn't listen, that didn't care. Meanwhile, while this is all happening, Abby is being manipulated by the animatronics. The animatronics from the first movie have completely disappeared. No one knows where they went to. I was suspecting that they were taken by the people who were making Fazbear Frights, or maybe who were doing this Faz Fest that was going on that weekend. But they've disappeared. The toy animatronics trick Abby into thinking that they are the animatronics from the first movie, but in newer bodies. When really, it's Charlotte the entire time. Charlotte is the only ghost. There are not multiple ghosts haunting that pizzeria. It is just Charlotte as the puppet controlling the animatronics from the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 location. The toy animatronics, as well as the Withers. So, a lot of theories that people had about Five Nights at Freddy's 2 get confirmed. I know that the movieverse is a different universe from the games, but I can definitely think of some theorists who will be happy and some that will not be happy by some of these different changes. So first theory was that whether or not Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was a prequel. According to the movie, it is. That the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 pizzeria, that is the original location. The one from the first movie was built afterwards. Another thing, which was actually how I felt about the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 location, is that the animatronics are not all possessed by a dead child. When people were theorizing in the second game that there was another incident where 5 kids ended up dying, I was never satisfied with that, especially when it's made very clear from different games, from the other games, and from the mini games that you play, that it's just the ones from the first game that are possessed. The ones from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 I always thought were not possessed, specifically possessed by individual ghosts. I always thought it was more of a poltergeist thing. Not that the puppet was controlling all of them, but that there were ghosts that were influencing the pizzeria and the different animatronics, not necessarily 5 kids. Because if you think about it, just with the 5 kids, that doesn't make sense with things like Balloon Boy or the Withers, which that's another thing that people had been theorizing as to whether or not the Withers were the original, I say original, the ones from the first game, or if they were their own thing. In the movie, they are their own thing. They are prototypes. That's why they get tricked by the mask so easily. And yes, that is a thing. I know we all saw it in the trailer, but for a little bit, Mike does end up playing the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 game with its different mechanics. And that includes Foxy not being fooled by the mask. Henry is indeed in this movie, and the funny thing is that he is Henry in everything but name. He's named in the credits, but no one actually says his name at all in the movie. And then throughout the movie, we get little reveals, little twists about different stuff. One that I think is a big twist that I don't think any of us expected was Circus Baby showing up. In one of her dreams, where Vanessa is trying to get rid of try to separate herself from her father. Her father keeps haunting her in visions and in dreams. And in one dream, she is trying to push him away and be like, I'm not scared of you anymore. I don't belong to you anymore. It fails miserably. But one of the things we see Vanessa turn into her younger self, hide in her father's workshop, and when she turns, she sees Circus Baby beside her. And then her eyes turn green and turn on. So if people weren't sure if there was going to be a sister location movie, I'm pretty sure there's going to be. Of course, there's the biggest twist in the entire movie, but I can't mention that without mentioning the incredibly badass ending we ended up getting. So the whole thing that Charlotte is after, she's after Abby. There's this terrifying scene where Toy Chica After Mike has managed to shut down all the animatronics. They were all being controlled wirelessly by the marionette. They don't call it the puppet, they call it the marionette in the movie. But Chica stays on. Chica is the one with Abby. And that's because the marionette has been hiding inside of Chica's chest. The marionette, Charlotte, wants Abby so that she can possess Abby. That's how the marionette works in this universe, is that it's not specifically the marionette itself which is causing all of these issues and attacking people. The marionette, Charlotte, in the marionette, her spirit possesses a human body. And she eventually possesses Abby. Mike manages to get Charlotte out of Abby's body by playing the music box. There was a music box in the location that was keeping the marionette asleep, keeping Charlotte asleep. It got turned off, which just started all of this. Mike brings in a new one that he got from Henry, and the marionette basically crawls away. We don't really see where they go. We just see they unpossess Abby, and then they leave. But that's when all of the animatronics, all the toy animatronics, show up at the house ready to attack them. Because it wasn't just Charlotte controlling them. The main villain of this movie is Michael Afton. And that's the thing that's going to piss people off a lot. Mike is the one who started everything. He was the one who invited the ghost hunting gang that we see in the trailer to the toy animatronic location. He's the one that jump-started everything, all of the possessions. And he introduces himself as Michael Afton, says he's here to continue his father's work, and tries to convince Vanessa to come with him because no matter what, they belong to their father. She's like, screw you. I'm not doing that. And he is about to have all these animatronics go and kill them. And then all of a sudden, as if hearing the Superman theme song, all of a sudden we all hear dum 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 dum. And everybody starts cheering because that's when the original, the FNAF movie 1, Foxy, reaches through the window, grabs Bonnie, and absolutely thrashes him. Bonnie completely mangles Mangle. Chica completely just tears off Toy Chica's head. Freddy rips off Toy Freddy, his full body, and absolutely destroys them. Mike runs out and gets his face punched in by a friend of Mike's who was there. Finally, the bad guys have been defeated, and then suddenly all of the animatronics, all the movie 1 animatronics begin breaking down because apparently they were never supposed to leave the location. We don't even know where they came from, really. We just know that earlier in the movie, Mike went to the location where all of them went missing from and just said, Abby is in trouble. Please, if you ever really cared about Abby, please come help. And that's essentially what they did. They came from who the hell knows where and saved them all, but now they are breaking down. But the boy who possesses Golden Freddy, he shows up and says, hey, it's okay, we're all moving on. But then warns Mike that once they move on, he won't be able to hold him back, and he's going to be stronger than ever. And we pretty much all know what that's alluding to. Everyone gets out of the house, except Vanessa. Mike says, stay away from us. Which, honestly, after, finding out about all these other kids that Vanessa's father murdered, being involved with more of her family, and multiple lies that she was telling throughout the movie he has had enough. So he says, stay away from us. So she stays in the house as Mike and Abby and their friend leave for who knows where. And that's when Charlotte comes up behind her and possesses Vanessa, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting like a hallucination of her father to show up behind her and say, "Oh, it's time. You're going to continue my legacy, etc., etc." Basically Vanessa turn into Vanny. Michael Afton disappears, leaving behind a Freddy Fazbear security guard badge to who knows where. The mid-credits scene was the guys from Fazbear Frights showing up and grabbing stuff, including what will become Springtrap. So there's now a setup for that movie. But at the very end, and I was actually shocked because after the mid-credits scene, most people got up and left. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's always a final scene. And technically I was right. We don't see anything. What we do get, though, is a message from Henry to Mike saying that I'm recording this for you in case I can't tell you directly, in case something happens to me. And then he gets interrupted a bit and says, the marionette is after you, and then gets cut off. And it's implied that something got him, or something tried to attack him. I can't remember now if it was the marionette or not, if the marionette's music box was playing or not. I can't remember. But what I find interesting is that we don't know if it's Mike Schmidt he's talking to. It would make sense because in the recording he says, hey, I was thinking a lot about our talk about Charlotte. But boy, it would be interesting if he was talking to Michael Afton, that they also had a conversation, because that would explain why he knew about Charlotte in the first place, is that he talked to her father. Now, I've been dancing around this the entire video because I didn't want to talk about this until the very end, and that is Michael Afton being the bad guy. Stay with me now. It makes sense that he's the bad guy at this moment. When we get into the sister location game and we get to the very end where Mike says the message to his father of, hey, I found her. She's exactly where you said she would be. But now I can't die, so I'm going to come find you. There's this implication that Mike has always... There's always been a thing in the fandom that Michael Afton is like this unsung hero who goes from location to location, shutting down all the animatronics, trying to put the souls at rest and trying to find his father to take revenge. But this movie implies that there's more to it. I can definitely see this movie, Michael Afton, being the same Afton that goes down into Sister Location. This is Mike pre-scooped. Wow, that is a horrible image. This is Michael before he gets scooped, before his purple guy era, you could say. And it would make sense if he's going down there that he knows about the stuff that his father has done. And it's very possible he went down there to put his sister back together, but then ended up becoming the victim of the fun times. I think that this Michael Afton that we get in the movie is going to turn into the one that wants to take revenge on his father. And that said, when you look back of it, there's not really an implication that he wants to take revenge on his father when he says, I'm going to come find you. That was something that we thought of. It's really only when we get to Pizza Simulator that it's implied that Mike wanted to gather everything everybody together so that this can be finished once and for all. And Henry even implies, hey, something tells me you are exactly where you want to be. Nothing ever said that Michael was a good guy from the very beginning. It makes a lot of sense if, like Vanessa, he was manipulated and turned into one of his father's tools. And that it's only after he gets scooped and suddenly can't die anymore that there is a change in him that causes him to go after his father and causes him to try to end everything at Pizzeria Simulator. But hey, that's just my personal thoughts. Yeah, you knew what I was going to say. That's enough rambling, I think. Hopefully, when I go to edit this and I listen back to it, it won't all come out as like a garbled ramble induced from adrenaline and sugar. And again, if you haven't seen the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie, why are you listening to this? Go see the movie. It's really good. Mike basically plays Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And the scares and the murders are so much worse. It is so much. This movie is a lot scarier and creepier than the first one. All right. I'm exhausted. It's currently 1 a.m. I'm going to go to sleep. And I will see you guys next time. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, donate to my coffee, please. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.